I have to tell you, we have our next guest coming up, and he's a gentleman by the name of Phil Odden. And when we used to, years and years ago, we used to belong to the Red Rose Driving Club in Pennsylvania. And we used to take our pony out almost every weekend for years. We used to go on these most beautiful drives through Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, through cities, through country, or whatever. But we always used to try and follow sometimes it was a single and sometimes it was a pair of fjords. They were out of Morgantown, I remember that. They had the most beautiful fjords, and they used to drive them in the Red Rose Driving Club, and we used to follow the fjords every time, and I just loved the fjords. They were tremendous driving ponies. And we have Phil on the line here. Hi, Phil, you're on the air. Welcome to the Horses in the Morning Show.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, you're welcome. I just love fjords, and I don't know a ton about them other than what we learned from the people we used to drive with in the carriage club there. And of course, you know, they're stunning. When you put them in a carriage and put the harness on them and with their manes, with the black stripe, and if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, just look up fjord on Google. They have that black stripe right down the middle of their manes, and they're the beautiful cream color, and they're just beautiful horses. So tell us a little bit about the history of fjords. I assume they are Norwegian.
Oh yeah, they were bred on the west coast of Norway. So it's the west coast, they're a mountain pony. It's the west coast of Norway, the environment there, the steep mountains down to the fjords, small farms. It's that kind of a district or area that actually formed the environment that formed this horse. So they're a multi-discipline horse. They're versatile. You know, we can drive them. They used them as pack horses extensively in the mountains, even with the military up until about 1970. The military was involved with the horses in Norway because of their packing capability. People ride them, but really the riding has been more important in the last 20, 30 years than it ever was before with a fjord horse.
Well, we should spell that for all our people who are now trying to Google it and cannot even figure out how to spell it. It's F-J-O-R-D. F-J-O-R-D is how you spell fjord. So they're so cool, and they look like little draft horses. I mean, they're about 14 hands is what I think most of them I've seen are. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's right. I think our breed standard says 13.2 to 14.2, but there can be individuals that are smaller and individuals that are larger than that. So, but 14 hands is about average for them.
Okay, so now the ultimate question, and I don't know the answer to this, is how did they come to get the black stripe right down the middle of their mane?
Well, what we do is we take this stencil and we spray white on one side. No, they're a primitive breed.
I checked for that. I actually went up and rubbed the bait just to make sure that isn't what they were doing.
No, I'll tell you what, they're a very primitive horse. They have striping on their legs, which and just the buff color, the dun color, makes them a very primitive horse. There are people who say that their history goes back 2,000 years. Some people say 4,000 years. Really, the modern fjord horse is a result of selective breeding for about the last 200 years. But that coloring, that stripe that goes all the way from their forelock through their mane and down their back, it's called an ale stripe in English or a old stripe in Norwegian. Goes clear down through their tail. So, and not all of them are brown. I have red dun horses. Here in the stripe is actually red. And,
is that right?
Yeah.
You have redheads.
Yep, there's like four or five different colors. And there are some redheads. There's only about 13% that are red. And then there's some grays, but they have a black stripe. That would be a black color in most horses. Ours are gray because of the dun factor.
Wow.
So when, obviously you can see that stripe so predominantly in the mane simply because every fjord I've ever seen is grown like that. Their hair is trimmed like that. So do you guys trim them like that, or they just kind of like that?
Yeah, that's a common question. It's a stand-up mane, and if you look at the pictographs and the images from clear back to the Viking times, Viking age in Norway or Scandinavia, you can see these horses with the stand-up mane. And my understanding is that, of course, they come from the west coast of Norway where it rains a lot, and they, if a mane falls over, these horses have very brushy, thick manes, most of them, and it doesn't fall one way; it falls both ways. And so they can get some mildew problems under those manes if they're in a really wet climate. And so forever, for eons, they've been trimming these manes, and we have a stand-up mane with white on both sides. Distinctive. It's important to have that distinctive contrast between the white and the black, and then the dun color of the horse.
So the Fjord is the only breed I've ever heard of that has a naturally occurring mildew issue.
Well,
in their native country.
It's an environmental problem with, because it would be the same if it were on down in South Carolina, for example, where it's really humid, or if it were out in the coastal region where it's wet all the time with that really thick, heavy mane, you could have that problem. So.
Well, and you have that kind of problem with draft horses and their feathers, getting rain rot and things like that. So it definitely happens. So it's not a cosmetic thing then? It's more of a health-inspired trim?
Well, I think perhaps originally it was a health-inspired, but then through selective breeding, and so forth, we've got that really nice mane. I mean, that's one of the signatures or accents on this horse that make it distinctive, and
tradition.
So and tradition, and it's there's lots of different ways to trim them. You can trim that mane in such a way that it identifies it as a female, and you can trim it in such a way as it accentuates the masculine for the males, and that's important to have in our breed, that our stallions are supposed to look masculine, and the mares are supposed to look feminine. So, and part of that a lot of that has to do with the neck on a fjord horse. The neck is very large on a fjord horse compared to other horses.
Yes, it is.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that the neck and headset is fantastic for it's very naturally occurring dressage headset because it's nice and arched, and then the way that they're built. I was telling Glenn this before, that the first 3-day event I ever competed in, I had come from the hunter jumper world where everybody wanted the bay 16 two-ham thoroughbred, and then I go to event. And, I completed it with my thoroughbred, and we did quite well. I got my butt kicked, though. I mean, this person who won the event was 20 points below anybody else, and the lower the score, the better in eventing, of course. So this person kicked everybody's butt, and what were they riding? A Fjord. It was amazing.
Yeah, in the lower levels, so I compete in combined driving events, and of course, in the training level and the prelim level, I mean, a training level with a Fjord, because the accents are on the walk and at rhythm, and I mean, you should be able to win those things just about every time with a Fjord because of their disposition, and their trot is very good. They have a very nice trot, and if we get a real athletic Fjord horse, one that has a big long overstep at the walk and a good overstep at the trot, they're pretty tough to beat. I lost my first combined driving event this year. I won every one I entered. I lost at the immediate level. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
and do you drive singles or pairs, or what?
I drive pairs. I like to drive pairs. I do drive singles, but I love to drive pairs. So I'm known for my pairs.
Okay, so I'm looking at your website here, and I just posted a link to your website on our Facebook page. Anybody that wants to see it can go to Horses in the Morning, our Facebook page, and they'll get a link directly to your website. You look like the classic Fjord driver. You have that look, and I have the gray beard too, so I'm with you on it. But yes, I do. But you just look the classic. How pretty can you get with you guys in the carriage there? I love your choice of carriage. It really offsets I call them the cream color of the horses because that's really what color they seem to be. It's just beautiful. Now, so you starting to take this driving thing seriously? We're going to see it at the Kentucky Horse Park next year for the Nationals?
Well, I was there this year for the World Equestrian Games with the American Driving Society. Did some demonstrations there at the WEG. So,
cool.
And we were at Gala. We were at Gala last spring at the combined driving event there.
Were you? Are you coming back?
I'm planning to go to Gala again next year, and hopefully we're going to make it to Kentucky again for the CDE there in the fall. I'm not sure, but.
Well, if you're going to be there in the spring, we live about 5 miles from there, so we usually try and stop over. I'll definitely have to say hi and meet your pony.
Yeah, Gala is a wonderful event. It's a beautiful place. Kentucky, the hills there, just the fences are magnificent to look at, let alone the architecture.
What is Gala? I'm sorry for not knowing there, but...
Okay, Gala is a driving center in Georgetown, Kentucky, which is about 5 miles from the horse park. From the Kentucky Horse Park here, and it's a beautiful driving center, and you can actually take lessons there and stuff, but it's mainly meant for competition driving, right?
Yeah, I think so, but they do teach pleasure driving there too, and they also have some fjord horses there, which is kind of interesting. So,
now, how many fjords do you have?
Oh, some people say I'm out of control. I've got about 25 of them. But,
wow! Oh my gosh!
But I like to have a deep bench when I'm pretty serious about competition, both in pleasure driving and combined driving, and I like to have a deep bench.
There's deep, and then there's swimming in an ocean. There's the deep end of the pool and an ocean. When you cross 20, you're getting into the ocean side there.
They say I'm out of control, but, we live where hay is inexpensive up here. I make my own hay. I do a lot of things with these horses. I don't just compete with them, and I like to have family fjords too. I think it's important. The disposition of the fjord horse lends itself to family horses, and so I don't just breed competition horses, but I like to have all these horses here because then I can choose the ones I can get the very best that I can find for the competitions. So.
Well, that's cool. That is cool. I mean, it is neat that. And is that the only breed you have there at the farm?
Yeah, I do. I train a few other horses. I got a couple brown horses here right now that I'm training, but I only raise fjord horses here. So.
Okay.
So Phil,
that's cool.
The fjord horse is called the fjord, and everything that's not a fjord is a brown.
Well, I'm not.
Good point.
I don't discriminate. These are very nice horses. These
I
brown
love it.
horses
I think it's
have
awesome.
here, but.
It's funny that you said that, though.
That's great. I love it, Phil.
That shows how passionate you are about your cream-colored horses.
They're not the best horses in the world. It's just that these are the horses that I have, and I'm not a person that, I love all the other horses, too, and I enjoy everybody else's passion for their horses. But I do enjoy these horses. I mean, they fit my personality and fit me and fit our lifestyle. It is a lifestyle, and they fit us just fine. So
I do have a question for you on your website. You have a picture here of a young man and a young lady all decked out riding bareback. Is that a relative?
That's our son. And that was, he wasn't interested in horses really, but when he found out that the young women were interested in horses, then his interest in horses grew. It's kind of strange how that works, isn't it?
Yeah, funny how that works. Especially when you have pretty fjord horses that all the girls like.
It does attract them.
That's a chick magnet. Yeah, definitely. I'm sorry, there's nothing stinking cuter than a Norwegian fjord. They're just absolutely adorable. And I think what makes me excited is other people's excitement and passion about their animals, Phil, and I love it when people actually take their horses and use them. And you may have 25 horses, but I guarantee you're not ignoring any of them. I can just tell. So I think it's awesome, Phil, what you're doing and taking care of the fjords and promoting the breed and driving them and competing them. And good luck, man. I hope you kick everybody's butt.
Thank you.
Well, this is terrific, Phil. We appreciate you joining us here on a note.